Hello, I'm Pastor Mark of Overbrook Presbyterian Church. I'd like to invite you to spend a few moments with me reflecting on God's Word. This morning I'd like to read from the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verses 20 and 22. This is Jesus speaking to his disciples. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. Now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. In this passage, Jesus speaks of two things, grieving and rejoicing. And he doesn't really speak of them as two separate, independent things, but he talks about them as they are in relationship to one another, in that there is a time for grieving and there is a time for rejoicing. And beyond that, I think what he's saying is that there's actually an interplay between these things. There's a relationship, an interplay between grieving and rejoicing, between pleasure and pain, between suffering and blessing. Before moving to Virginia, we lived on the west coast of Florida for about 6 years. And there, because it's a subtropical climate, flowers bloom year-round. It's amazing. When we first moved there, we were amazed to see flowers blooming and trees blooming in October, November, December, and January. But the longer we lived there, the more accustomed we got to that. And it was in fact not until we had company or guests come from out of state to stay with us who would be amazed at what they saw around them that we would again notice the beauty of what was around us. In Virginia, we have all four seasons. We have winter where everything dies, where greenery goes away, where plants don't bloom anymore. And therefore, in the spring, as we see the dogwoods bloom, the daffodils pop out of the ground, because we've been through a season of winter, of death and of dying, this season of birth and new life is amazing and all the more beautiful than it could ever be if we were blessed with it year-round. I think of this time of isolation now, of being separated one from another, and how difficult it is for us. But I think of Jesus' words in this passage where he says, we grieve now, but we will see, his disciples will see him again, and they will rejoice, and no one will take away their joy. I think this period of isolation is helping us appreciate something that I fear we had been taking for granted. The opportunity to gather face to face, to hold hands, to shake hands, to hug one another, to worship together. Yes, we're going through a period of grieving, but it's only temporary. We will see each other again. We will gather again for worship. And when we do, it will be all the more precious. Yes, we will meet again. And when we do, nothing will be able to take away our joy. Thank you for joining me today as we've had this time to spend together reflecting on God's Word for God's people.